me just get situated for a minute up here.
You guys are going? Cool.
They go higher? Okay, y'all ready? Okay. This is a story about the human heart. With amazing and rhythmic precision, this powerful muscle squeezes out about a gallon of blood per minute in order to oxygenate every cell in your body. The upper chambers, the atria, fill with blood circulated into the right atrium from the heart's farthest reaches and into the left atrium after permeating the lungs. The atria then simultaneously empty into the lower ventricles, and this blood is launched out forcefully towards your most distant extremities and the nearby lungs to suffuse every cell once again. This system of valves open and close with a thump that echoes through the hollow spaces in your chest to form the sound that is your heartbeat. And all of this mechanical accuracy is powered by a tiny but effective electrical impulse that originates entirely within the center walls of the heart. In other words, imagine if a tiny plastic guitar metronome regulated the ocean tides to flow through a vast global network of water park slides and garden hoses. This is basically how powerful and strange and complex yet simple your heart muscle is. But this is a story, and so I want to tell you that I got my heart broken really badly 1 year ago. I met a man, and we talked about books and art, and he burrowed his way into my open heart with his every declaration that I am beautiful and gentle. And then he broke up with me, leaving that empty, hollow space inside me as the days were growing darker and colder. He had seemed special, different, like someone who really deeply understood me. There had been red flags. My friends and family told me I had dodged a bullet. He once cussed me out, screaming, his face a contorted monster mask of fury because I came late to the breakfast table. Another time I was cussed out for not screwing the lid on a jar of pickles tightly enough. I just got pickles all over my kitchen floor. What kind of fucking idiot doesn't screw the lid on right? His favorite, though, I know that's shitty, right? His favorite way to punish me for trying to discuss certain subjects, such as why he holds on to a collection of sexually explicit photos of former lovers, was by kicking me out of his apartment to end the conversation. And that broke my heart every single time. The words, "get out," are etched into my memory. It's so absurd that I laugh about it, but it isn't very funny. He's an alcoholic, possibly a sex addict. He's 12 years older than me. He has smoked cigarettes for 25 years. His parents still pay his rent, but it's hard to see these things clearly, you know? It's hard to never go back. It's difficult to be alone, to face life alone, to choose being alone over being screamed at, because there's something just so comforting in the familiar space that is chaos in the home. My childhood home featured a lot of parental rage and yelling and sometimes breaking things. Maybe that's a theory I read in a 1970s self-help book, that the different traumas are connected. Either way, it's hard to leave. When you want to see the good, you want to have an open heart and forgive. I saw him cry. I knew that he cared deeply about animals. He could make me laugh, could talk intelligently about art. We would sit together, drinking wine and smoking cigarettes and talking for hours late into the nights. He seemed wounded inside, and I naturally wanted to nurse wounded animals. Whatever the reason, sometimes it is very, very hard to leave. And so with my broken heart, I dragged my ass out of bed for weeks and filled out job applications. I stuffed my sad, sad body into a suit and sensible pumps, and I studied and rehearsed and showed up on time for interviews. And last December, I got my first job as a newly licensed nurse in the mother-baby unit of a hospital here in Houston. It really took so much work to get there. 5 years of prerequisites, followed by a full-time nursing school and part-time jobs and homework and nursing rotations and exams, practicing inserting catheters and removing IVs, thousands of textbook pages, with a couple other broken hearts in there too, to get where I am today. I am an RN, and I am good at my job. During one of our on phases in the on and off, he decided to leave me again, this time for his ex-fiancée. So I did what any normal American would do. I got up for work at 5 a.m. I drove to the hospital to clock in at 6:30. I talked to my patients. I asked them about their pain, their bleeding. I brought them their pain medicine. I drew their blood for lab tests, and I wiped blood from their thighs on the floor. I went to the break room sometimes and cried my eyes out. And then I washed my face and went back out and pushed down the deadness inside for a while, and I did my best to do my job well. I started smoking again in the car on the way home from 13-hour shifts. In all of this and all the leaving, we somehow ended up seeing each other again and again through the spring and into summer. I remember we once got in a fight in the car. We were talking about my job, and he made the assertion that veins are the same thing as arteries, that the difference between the two is purely semantic. I ventured to correct him. Veins and arteries are structurally and functionally completely different, I said. Why wouldn't you want to describe reality as accurately as possible? That's it. You're being shitty to me, he said before he drove away, leaving me standing there in front of my apartment, once again regretting closeness with this man who is capable of changing into a monster. The nature of my work is mainly joyful, or, if it isn't that, postpartum work mostly concerns itself with healthy, able-bodied people. I don't work with cancer patients or people with spinal cord injuries. It's just mamas and babies and families. There is blood, and there is shit, and there is vomit. And there is insane rushing about, but there are also sweet little babies. One day at work, I was taking care of one mom and her baby daughter. The baby's heart sounded like there was a murmur. Her color seemed a little off all day, and she seemed fussy. At the end of my shift, a tech came and performed the echocardiogram that the doctor had ordered on the baby, a sonogram showing baby's heart. It turns out this baby had a rare congenital heart defect called transposition of the great vessels. Her aorta and pulmonary artery were switched around in a freak occurrence that makes the heart an efficient mirror of itself, pumping blood in an endlessly useless loop that doesn't reach air into anything. The baby was not getting oxygen-rich lung blood in the furthest reaches of her tiny body, and without immediate intervention, baby's prognosis was very poor. My coworkers sprung into action, surrounding the baby, monitoring, assessing, administering oxygen, prepping her for a transfer to our neonatal ICU, with talk of sending her to Texas Children's Hospital. I decided that enough people with more experience than me were taking good care of this baby, so I went to check on the baby's mother. I found my patient weeping, alone in her hospital bed. A pediatrician had already come and told Mama what was happening to baby, and then she had left my patient alone to take in this horrible news. So I did what any normal human being would do. I sat down on her hospital bed and I held her while she wept, terrified and helpless. I held my patient while she cried for a good while until a family member came to be with Mama, and I went to follow up with doctors and transfer nursing care and document a report. When I got home from work, I was tired and I was sad. My heart felt broken for this little family. He called me that night and we talked for a little while. He complained to me about being frustrated and dissatisfied, broken and resentful, and all I could think about was holding that mother while she wept in fear for her tiny baby girl, with her broken little heart continually ticking on its rhythm, faithfully beating, as it should, backwards. The end.